Hi everyone, this is BB Sangme and today I am going to discuss about the design considerations for forging. So do subscribe for the latest videos of machine design. First of all, let us see what is the process of forging. Forging is a controlled plastic deformation process in which the work material is compressed between two dies using either impact or a gradual pressure to form the part. Forging operation can be carried out usually at an elevated temperature, that is, it is usually carried out at above recrystallization temperature. Forged components are widely used in automotive and aircraft industries. They are usually made of steels and non-ferrous metals. They can be as small as a gudgeon pin and as large as crankshaft. Forged components are used under the following circumstances. Moving components requiring light weight to reduce inertia forces, for example connecting rod of IC engines. Components subjected to excessive stresses, example aircraft structures. Small components that must be supported by other structures or parts, for example hand tools and handles. Components requiring pressure tightness where the part must be free from internal cracks, for example wall bodies. Components whose failure would cause injury and expensive damage are forged for safety. In order to obtain maximum benefit from a forged component, the following principles should be adopted. While designing a forging, advantage should be taken of the direction of fiber lines. Here you can observe the fiber lines. Okay, these are the fiber lines of forged component. These are the fiber lines of, you will not fiber lines in the cast component, and these are the fiber lines of machine components. Here I have shown the fiber lines of in this image you will observe the fiber lines of forged component, and this is the image of fiber lines of cast component. Okay, so you will observe the continuity in the fiber lines of forged component. Okay, so while designing a forging, advantage should be taken of the direction of fiber lines. The grain structure of crankshaft manufactured by three principal methods. Here you can see the grain structure manufactured by cast component, machine component and forged component. There are no fiber lines in cast component and the grains are scattered in case of a cast component. Okay, so the component prepared by machining method such as a turning or milling, the original fiber lines of rolled stock are broken. It is only in case of forged parts that the fiber lines are arranged in a favorable way to withstand stresses due to external load. While designing a forging, the profile is selected in such a way that fiber lines are parallel to tensile forces and perpendicular to shear forces. So this care should be taken while designing a forging. Machining that cuts deep into the forging should be avoided. Otherwise, the fiber lines are broken and the part become weak. The forged component should be provided with an adequate draft. As you can see in the figure, this is the original component and this is the modified one with the provided draft. Okay, so the draft angle is provided for an easy removal of the part from the die impression. The angles alpha and beta are the drafts for outside and inside surfaces. As the material cools, it shrinks and the gap is formed between the outer surface of the forging and the inner surfaces of the die cavity. So with the result of that, the draft angle for the outer surface is small. On the other hand, when the material cools, its inner surfaces tend to shrink and grip the projected surface of the die. Okay, so with the result that the draft angle for the inner surfaces should be larger. For steels, the recommended values of draft angle are 7 and 10 degrees respectively. I have shown in the next slide it. So here you can observe the typical draft angles preferred for the various engineering materials: for aluminum, for magnesium, brass and copper, steel, stainless steel, titanium. So here you can observe that the draft angles are larger one for the steel and titanium components comparatively for the aluminum, means non-ferrous components. There are two important terms related to forging. I have shown in the figure the parting line. Here you can see the parting line. This is the parting line of the component. The parting line is a plane in which the two halves of the forging dies meet and in which the flash is formed. A forging plane is a plane. This is the forging plane. The forging plane is a plane which is perpendicular to die motion. So obviously for this type of component there will be a vertical motion for the die and punch. Okay. So the actually the forging plane is the plane which is perpendicular to the die motion. So in most of the cases the parting line and forging plane coincide. So here you can see that both the parting lines and forging planes are coinciding. Okay, but in this figure you will observe the parting line and forging lines are not coinciding. Okay, so there are two basic principles for the location of parting line. The parting line should be in one plane as far as possible. Okay, it should divide the forging into two equal parts. So here you can see that the parting line have divided the forging into two equal parts in these both figures. When the parting line is broken, so in this figure you can observe that the parting line is here, the parting line is broken. Okay, as shown in figure, it results an unbalanced forging forces which tend to displace the two die halves. Okay, such forces are balanced either by a counter lock or by forging the two components in simultaneously in a mirror image position. So here you can see that this is the mirror image of, these are the two mirror images of each other. Okay, a parting line that divides the forging into two halves ensures the minimum depth to which the steel must flow to feel the die impression. Okay, so that should be care should be taken. The forging should be provided with adequate fillet and corner radii. Here in this figure you can see that adequate fillet and radius is provided. Okay, a small radius will result in folds on the inner surfaces and cracks on the outer surfaces. Okay, so providing a small radius can result into folds on the inner surfaces and cracks on the outer surfaces. A large radius is undesirable, particularly if the fold component is to be machined, during which the fiber lines will broke. Okay, so large radius is not preferable. Okay, sharp corners results in increasing difficulty in filling the material. If sharp corners are provided in the die and punch, so material filling will not be possible. It will be difficult to fill the complete cavity. So excessive forging forces and poor die life will result in that. The magnitude of fillet radius depends upon the material, the size of forging and the depth of die cavity. Okay, so for the moderate size steel forging, the minimum corner radii are 1.5, 2.5 and 3.5 mm for the depth up to 10, 25 and 50 mm respectively. Okay, thin sections and ribs should be avoided in forged components. A thin section cools at faster rate in a die cavity and requires excessive force for plastic deformation. It reduces the die life and the removal of the component from the die cavities. It becomes difficult. For steel forging, the recommended value of the minimum section thickness is 3 mm. A properly designed forging is not only sound with regard to strength, but it also helps to reduce the forging forces. It improves the die life and simplifies the die design. If the design is poor, the best of steel and forging methods will not give the satisfactory component. So these are the typical minimum radii for forging for the depth of rib or boss, and corner and fillet radius. Minimum corner and fillet radius is provided at here, you can observe. Now let us discuss about the tolerances. The tolerances summarized below should be considered as guidelines. However, adjustment to these absolute values of tolerances can be made for reasons of the either manufacturing, economy, or the component's function. These are applied to impression die forgings made in two-part die sets. Length and width tolerance. Dimensions parallel to the parting plane and perpendicular to the die motion are provided with length and width. Okay, length and width tolerances. Length and width tolerances are commonly specified at plus 0.3% of each dimensions, rounded off to the next higher 0.5 mm. So here in this table you can observe the typical die wear tolerances for every material from aluminum, magnesium, brass and copper, mild steel, alloy steel, martensitic steel, austenitic steel, titanium, superalloys and refractory alloys. So these tolerances mean only to dimensions generally parallel to the parting plane. Obviously in the previous figure we have seen the parting planes are horizontal one, and perpendicular to the die motion for the vertical motion of the die. The corresponding variations parallel to die motions are included in die closure tolerances. Die wear tolerances are generally additive to the external dimensions and subtractive to the internal dimensions. To implement these tolerances in the design, each horizontal dimension is multiplied by the appropriate factor and rounded off to the next higher 0.5 mm. Die closure tolerances. Dimensions parallel to the die motion. The die motion, in most of the cases the die motion will be vertical. Actually vertical die motion is mostly preferred. Okay, so between opposite sides, the dimensions parallel to the die motion between opposite sides of forging are affected by failure of the two die halves to close precisely. The plus tolerances on such dimensions are shown in table. There is no minus tolerance in this category. So here you can see the die closure tolerances for every material, for aluminum, magnesium, brass, steel, martensitic steel, austenitic stainless steel, titanium, superalloys, refractory alloys. Okay, so the columns are representing the forging size, projected area at parting line. Okay, match tolerances. A lateral shift of one die half with respect to the other half generally moves all other features on opposite side of the forging. So this table summarizes typical tolerances with respect to piece weight and material. Here for the material and for the forging size you can see the match tolerances. So here you can see that for aluminum, magnesium, brass and steel, stainless steel, titanium, superalloys and refractory alloys, the forging match tolerances are provided with the component weight after trimming. Okay, so these are the component weights after trimming and these are the tolerances provided in mm. Next is the straightness tolerance. In relatively long a thin part, a typical recommended straightness tolerance is 0.3% of the length. Flash extension tolerances. The most common flash removal method is the use of punch operation in contoured dies. Recommended conventional flash extension tolerances are given in the table. You can see that these are appropriate when this procedure is acceptable. So for every material, for the aluminum, magnesium, brass, steel, stainless steel, titanium, superalloys, etc., according to the weight after trimming, the flash extension tolerances are provided in mm. Here you can see, here you can observe that the flash extension tolerances are larger one for the ferrous alloys and refractory alloys comparatively non-ferrous alloys. Okay, thank you.